Hello, everyone, and welcome to Full Time, where we take you around the world of soccer, locally, regionally, nationally, and internationally. The Full Time podcast is presented and powered by 91 Network. You're listening to Season 6, Episode 15 of Full Time. I'm your host, Daniel Scarpino, and with me is our co host, Gitano Gallo. Before we begin today's show, we'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsors. The Full Time Podcast is sponsored by Little Caesars Pizza. With their two locations in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, you can download and access the Pizza Portal app so you can enjoy a delicious hot and ready pizza from Little Caesars today. The Full Time Podcast is also sponsored by Sioux Sports. To check out Sioux Sports and all of their articles, announcements, and streaming platforms, including True House Media and True North Radio, visit siouxsports.com as well as Sioux Sports TV on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. We remind our listeners that recordings of Full Time occur weekly or bi-weekly, and uploads to all of our platforms for public viewing and listening occur weekly or bi-weekly as well. Folks, we are delighted to have you with us here on this episode of Full Time, where we get to discuss the sport that connects us all. G, how are you tonight, sir?
I'm not too bad. Acclimatizing to the cold, so we're doing a little better in that sense. But yeah, got the Christmas trees up, not quite decorated in the office right now. So yeah, I'm doing well. How are you tonight?
I'm doing great, man. Just before we hit the record button, I just came from Hiawatha. I renewed my cross-country ski pass. So just like you getting acclimatized with the weather, I'm embracing it just the same. So all is good in my neck of the woods. In today's show, we will discuss Europe's Big Five and the MLS Playoffs. As always, if anyone would like to listen to our previous content, please check us out at Full Time on all platforms of 91 Network. And without further ado, Gitano, and to everyone who has taken the time to tune in here today, let's kick off. We begin today's show with a look at Europe's Big Five, and we will kick it off with the Premier League. Arsenal is top with 30 points. Manchester City is second with 25 points. Chelsea and Aston Villa sit just behind them with 24 points each. Gee, it's a tight battle so far in the top four after a slow start to the season, by the way, for Villa in England's top flight. They shoot right up into the title conversation. So your overall thoughts here, sir?
Yeah, I was just gonna say like the kind of the top three is well, even I wouldn't even say Chelsea. I would say maybe top two. Like Arsenal, City are kind of expected to be in there. Chelsea and Villa we expect to be in like the European places, and Brighton, but Sunderland's still hanging in there. United are hanging in there. Liverpool are currently in eighth, and I know they're level on points with United right now. They're only 1 point behind Sunderland and Brighton, so it's not like they're out of it by any stretch. But it just looks, just from a glimpse, when you're not looking at kind of the bigger picture, just that little picture, it's looking a little weird. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, it does look a little bit strange, but again, with the closeness of everything, with the shakeups in the Premier League, we can anticipate that more things are to come and more to happen. So we shouldn't expect these things to stay the same. But you and I will both take Arsenal and Manchester City in the top two, battling for the title, and hopefully one of them, for one of us, emerges. And in the relegation zone, it's the likes of Wolves, Burnley, and Leeds. West Ham and Nottingham Forest are just on the outside of the drop zone. Gee, barring anything catastrophic, these five teams will be the teams fighting relegation this season, won't they?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see anyone like realistically. I don't see anyone dropping down into this fight unless United just United. But yeah, it's going to be. Well, what I will say, I think four of those teams are absolutely in a relegation fight. Wolves might as well be relegated at this point. I don't see a way after 13 games and no wins that they are able to like claw themselves to safety at this point. I mean, it would be an incredible turnaround, but I just don't see it.
Neither do I, and that's why in our preseason predictions, I did say that I thought that they would go down. I just didn't think that they did enough business this summer to replace what they lost. And sure enough, there's been no end product. There's been no product in general on the pitch. So we talked about it in our last episode, Gitano. Derby County having the worst Premier League record of all time. They're on pace, not to say it's going to happen, but they're on pace right now. Wolves are to break that record. And, if things continue this way, you'd be kind of hard pressed to say that it's probably going to happen, no?
13 games into the season, you've scored 7 goals and have 2 points. That is Yeah, like that. That is, if they somehow manage to not break the record, they're definitely going to have the second worst Premier League season of all time. Like they are just awful in every capacity. Like the boardroom absolutely blew it this summer. I do feel bad for the players. It's not their fault that they don't have the the support on the field with them, but like they're not helping themselves either. It's just it's just bad all the way around.
Yeah, mess from top to bottom, and they're just looking for a win anywhere. So, as much as we do keep an eye on the top of the table, we will also keep an eye on the bottom of the table too. Over in Italy, Serie A, it couldn't be tighter. Milan and Napoli are joint first with 28 points each. Inter and Roma are joint second with 27 points each. Gee, what a battle so far in Italy's top flight.
This is the best. Really, like you're just missing Juve in there, like really
Yep.
challenging. I know they're only a couple points out. It looks bad because they're in seventh again. It's kind of the same as the Premier League. Um, but like you just need Juve in that top five, and that is just like the perfect Serie A season. Those five teams battling it out. I haven't watched enough this season. I do feel bad about that. But definitely second half of the season, I'm going to be watching a little more Serie A, and I just everything I've seen already has been fantastic. I just cannot wait to keep watching this and see how it all plays out.
Yeah, week in, week out, you just don't know what's going to happen. And we've been talking about that for the last few years. And it just seems as though every single season it gets better and better and better. So long may this continue. Absolutely brilliant what's happening at the top of the table in Serie A. In Spain's La Liga, Barcelona has emerged at the top of the table. They have 34 points to second place Real Madrid's 33 points. Villarreal just a single point behind them with 32 points, and then Atletico Madrid with 31 points in fourth. Gitano, this has been an unbelievable change of events in La Liga from the last time that we spoke regarding Europe's Big Five here on full time. So the entire top four now, unlike the last time that we spoke, they're all within one game of each other. Your take on the table, sir?
Yeah, and I mean Barcelona getting the business done today against Atletico, a really really important 3-1 win for them. Um, but you look at Real Madrid, three draws in their last five, actually three in a row. Like their last three results are draws, and you just look and I know they do have a game in hand as well, so that would still put them 1 point behind. But you pick up a couple more of those points, you're at the top of the table. Three. I don't want to say three draws in a row is catastrophic, but when you're playing against the Barcelona side, or in a whole season against this Barcelona side that we know is going to put up high 80s, low 90s points, like dropping 6 points like that's rough. It's not the end of the race, but we could be looking back in March, April and saying, man, you draw three games in a row and Barca are winning all of theirs. Like that's the difference here. Um, but yeah, it's a lot tighter than we were thinking. Kind of in the whole of the race, obviously with Villarreal and Atletico getting in there, and a huge obviously result for Atletico Madrid losing because they would have been sitting second had they won this game. But it's an interesting race. I really didn't expect. I thought it would maybe tighten up a little bit. I didn't think it would be just like that.
Yeah.
What 2 weeks?
Yeah, seriously, 2, 3 weeks ago, we weren't having this conversation. It was actually a much different conversation. So, again, just the fact that things can change at the drop of a hat, absolutely incredible. But to your point, you talk about at the end of every season, oh, where did things change for the team who came second? Where did things change for the team who came third? Well, maybe it's these moments when, oh, we dropped 6 points there. That's where things kind of fell off. We can never catch up again. So you do wonder if that's going to be a pivotal moment. But again, time will tell. The Bundesliga in Germany is still about undefeated Bayern Munich. They have 34 points. In second is RB Leipzig with 26 points. Third place belongs to Dortmund with 25 points. Fourth is held by Leverkusen with 23 points. Gee, we certainly don't want to jinx anything, but with it's over 1/3 of the season actually now because they play less games than, for example, the Premier League. With over 1/3 of the season having been played in Germany's top flight, are Bayern going to start thinking about an unbeaten season potentially, or will they just kind of be taking things one game at a time?
If I know anything about Vincent Company, he is absolutely not letting that happen.
True.
Obviously they're going to be focused on the winning and keeping winning. But I don't think for a second that any single one of those players, coaches, management, anyone is going to be thinking about an unbeaten season. I think they're just going to be focused on just winning games. If you've watched any like the behind the scenes City stuff from Vincent Company's time at City, he's the perfect captain. just kept the boys focused. Like, it was never about what was going on next weekend. It was always the game in front of us. It was always the game in front of us. I don't think that's going to change the manager. So yeah, I think in that sense, I think they're fine. They're also really like not a really experienced team, but a pretty experienced team. There is some youth in there, but a lot of these guys have won Bundesligas before, World Cup winners in there. Like, they know that, December 2nd is not, the season is not wrapped up. They're not thinking anything like that right now. But yeah, I don't think they can't do it, but I know for a fact that they're not talking about it in that room for sure.
Yeah, it's a fair shout, and I'm just gonna applaud your point there about the behind-the-scenes Manchester City stuff, the documentaries. I would encourage anybody, even if you're not a fan of Manchester City, Arsenal has one as well. I would even encourage folks, if you could believe it, to watch the Tottenham one, because the Tottenham one was
That
incredible.
one's
Well,
incredible.
incredible. So all of those behind-the-scenes stuff for those documentaries, absolutely phenomenal. So I agree with you. Vincent Company's not going to let that happen, but it is just about staying focused and keeping things ticking along. I fully agree with that. Out in Ligue 1, it's a change at the top of the table since we last spoke, and that is Lens, who now occupy first place with 31 points. PSG fall into second place with 30 points. Marseille is third with 29 points. Gee, we sort of moaned, and we got to admit we moaned a little bit about the fact that we thought PSG very well could end up running away with this in the short-term future if the trends continued as they were at that time. But that doesn't appear to be the case, at least right now. What can you say for France's top flight now that there's a little bit of a change at the top?
Yeah, I mean, if you had told me before we looked at the table that like PSG weren't in first, I would have said, oh, like Marseille probably just pipped them maybe up on goal difference or something. But I did not see Lens being up there at all. Really kind of coming out of nowhere. It's good. It's good. Hopefully
Great.
this keeps up. Again, do I expect them to go on and like win the league? Probably not. But stay up top of the table for a couple weeks. Stay in the title picture until February, March. Like, that's what this league needs, is anyone to just challenge PSG, so PSG doesn't have the league won by the end of February.
Yeah, no, you said it, and you made a point earlier about in the second half of the season you're really going to start tuning into Serie A games. Well, right now all of our focus is on the Premier League. I catch anyways a little bit of Serie A here and there, a little bit of La Liga. I've been actually watching quite a bit of Bundesliga this year, strangely enough. But basically, I've watched like no Ligue 1 second half of the season. If it stays like this, you bet your bottom dollar I will be tuning in. Moving along, it is the final week of the MLS playoffs and incidentally, the final week of the 2025 MLS season. We just got treated to the conference finals this past weekend, and we will recap those games for you here and now. First, it was Inter Miami who took on New York City in the Eastern Conference final. At halftime, it was 2-1 in favor of Inter Miami, but it was a dominant second half performance by Inter Miami, which would see them score an additional 3 goals en route to a 5-1 victory. Inter Miami punched their ticket to the MLS playoff final. Gee, it was class personified all over the pitch for Inter Miami on the day, but specifically in that second half, and they rightly win this match. Your thoughts, my friend?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I don't want to say we expect it to be a 5-1, like absolute thumping, but you kind of look at the deeper stats of the game. Miami had only slightly less, 2% less possession of the ball, which is a little bit of a surprise. I thought they'd have a little more. But more expected goals, more shots on target, more chances created. Like, it just kind of feels right for that Inter Miami team. Suarez, Messi, the whole bit. I know Suarez only came on in the second half late, but just it's been the story of the season for them so far. It's just they just dominate. They just dominate. And it's funny because Lionel Messi actually had a pretty quiet match, only the 1 assist. I thought he was fantastic with everything else he did, but when you look at his performance in the last round, it was a goal and 4 assists, goal and 5 assists, whatever it was.
Goal and 3 assists, yeah.
Yeah, he was just involved in everything. So funny enough, not actually really involved, only get the 1 assist. The real star of the show, sorry. What's his? I don't even want to. Tadeo Allende.
Yeah.
And again, just who is he? Where did he come from? Of course, Miami's got him, but also I think you could score a hat trick playing alongside Lionel Messi. So like, I don't think I could, but you probably could.
That's a tall ask.
I don't know. I think Messi could put a couple on a plate for you, and you can tap them in.
I don't know if you saw his assist. That back heel was ridiculous.
But that's what I mean. Like when Messi's doing that, like you're just there's nothing New York City could have done. I thought they didn't play a terrible game. Like they didn't the scoreline's going to look really bad for them, and they're going to feel bad about that. But like in their room after that game, like what do you say to your team when Lionel Messi and Luis Suarez, Jordi Alba had a phenomenal game. Didn't see that coming from him at all. Yeah, like just you don't want to call them hard done by. They did lose 5-1, but like I think the scoreline didn't really reflect how close the game was until kind of later in that second half.
Yeah, and there were a couple of late goals, might we add. I think there was two beyond the 80th minute, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. So, I mean, there's that. But at the same time, Inter Miami played it super smart. You want to talk about the possession. Those statistics, in my opinion, at least just for this game, were a little bit skewed because I felt like Inter Miami just said, okay, have the ball, because when we do get it, like you're going to be caught out. And when you have the quality of Lionel Messi and company, what are you going to do? So, again, I feel bad for New York City, but again, we both picked it that it was only going to go this way, and maybe we didn't think 5-1, but at the end of the day, it's Lionel Messi, it's the rest of the team, and it's a super performance, especially in that second half. And in the Western Conference Final, it was San Diego FC who matched up with Vancouver. A super first half performance from Vancouver would see them go ahead 3-0, in which they ended up seeing out in the second half. Vancouver books their spot in the MLS Playoff Final, defeating San Diego by a score of 3-1. Gee, they say it's not about how you start, but how you finish. I think Vancouver sort of challenged that ideology because this team had an unbelievable first half and maybe didn't finish the game super duper strong, but San Diego could just never crawl back from that slow start that they had and the fast start that Vancouver had. So, with that being said, your take on the game, sir?
Yeah, I thought the red card was a bit of a bummer just for the event. San Diego probably weren't going to come back and score a couple goals to tie it up. But I feel like the red card was just, the balloon got popped. It was kind of, the game was done at that point, which was a bummer because I thought it was a really fun game. Obviously, Vancouver had a fantastic first half. San Diego had a better second half, but just wasn't quite there. Chucky Lozano got their one goal. But yeah, as soon as that red card happened, it just felt like the game was over at that point. It's a bit of a bummer for the occasion that a conference final MLS should be. But yeah, I thought Vancouver were fantastic. Obviously, the second half wasn't brilliant, but that first 45 was just you see why they were one of the top teams in the league this year. It was just a perfect performance from them in that first half against a team who's actually finished higher than them in the only team that finished higher than them in the Western Conference. So really, just a really really high quality performance for Vancouver. San Diego, yeah, they just ran out of gas. I want to say it kind of felt like watching them, like just nothing was clicking. It felt like they were just a step behind Vancouver, pretty much the entire game. Yeah, I just thought it was kind of just the end of the line for them. I really didn't see after even. I know they were down 2-0 after 11 minutes, but after like 20, 30 minutes, you could see it that they just weren't going to come back from that. So yeah, a bit of a bummer, like I said, for the spectacle, the event of a conference final. But yeah, I thought Vancouver played great.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think you're spot on with that. That San Diego ran their race, and that was it pretty much. And if you take a look at the simplicity of the goals that Vancouver scored, kind of was indicative of that. Like just simple runs to the back post, nobody tracking, nobody marking, people getting caught flat-footed, just allowing people to crash inside the box. Like really simple stuff that didn't happen to San Diego all season happened on the day. They looked like the wind were taken out of the sails relatively early, but Vancouver rightly put their foot on the gas, didn't let up, and in the second half just kind of saw it out. So a deserved win for Vancouver. So, Gitano, to review these picks, we both got the Inter Miami game correct, but you did pick San Diego, whereas I picked Vancouver. So we go 1-for-2 and 2-for-2 respectively. We have ourselves, regardless of how anybody feels about it, we have a great final coming up, G.
Oh yeah, I think this is going to be. I think maybe the most interesting in a while. Just in terms of like, it's so much deeper than the game now. Like you have like the Lionel Messi, is he gonna win his MLS Cup? Like Vancouver, are they gonna be the first team since a Canadian team, sorry, since Toronto in 2017 to win MLS Cup? Yeah, it's a lot deeper than just and not that the last few MLS Cups have been like shallow or anything, but just like I feel like the stories surrounding this MLS Cup final, we haven't seen anything like this in a while.
Yeah, the headlines will certainly be there, and they'll be there more than previous years. So that alone makes things more enticing and exciting. And now, of course, it is all about the MLS playoff final, which will be played between Inter Miami and Vancouver, of course. Gee, if people said to you at the beginning of the season, the MLS final will be played between Inter Miami and Vancouver, what would you have said?
I think on the Miami side, I would have fully believed it. Like that's yeah, like there's nothing really shocking about that. Vancouver, on the other hand, not that I wouldn't be shocked that they were in the final. I would have probably said if you'd asked me like the final four teams in the West, I would have probably had them lumped in there. So I wouldn't have been like super surprised. I would have been more surprised to hear that like Seattle or one of the LA teams wasn't in the final compared to
Right.
Vancouver being in the final. Um, but yeah, we knew they were a very good team. They had a great year last year. They've been building something really special there for a couple years now. So yeah, I wouldn't have been totally surprised to see Vancouver in the MLS Cup final. It would have been more shocking that like one of those other teams I mentioned just like wasn't there.
Yeah, no, you summarized that incredibly well, and I agree with you. I definitely would have obviously pegged Inter Miami to be there, but if somebody would have said Vancouver is going to be in the MLS final, I would have thought, they'll be competitive and they'll make the playoffs, certainly, but I wouldn't have pegged them to be in the final, so kudos to them for getting there, and this will make for some interesting viewing. So, Gitano, as this game approaches, from when the conference finals took place this past Saturday, assuming the following day for both teams was probably a rest day or a recovery day, this is going to give both of these teams 5 days to prepare for this upcoming final on Saturday. So, in your opinion, G, what will be the approach going into the contest from Inter Miami, and what will the approach be from Vancouver?
I think I'll start with Vancouver. So it's probably the easiest. Don't let Lionel Messi touch the ball.
Right.
Snap him in half, hard into any tackle you can get on him, and not just to keep him from doing his stuff, but I think you set the tone for all of the star players and for Inter Miami that hey, like if you have the ball, we are going to tackle you. You are going to feel us. You're going to know we're coming every time. I think, and it's not that that's not far off from what Vancouver plays. They're a decently physical team. They're not. They're not like Nigel de Jong in the World Cup final, like flying into every tackle that way. But they're not. They're not. Kind of a tiki taka, never throw a tackle type team. It's MLS. You have to be physical. They're a physical
Yep.
team. And if you're Inter Miami, you're just thinking, do what we've been doing. Not all season, because they didn't actually have a great regular season, but these playoffs, like they've been playing well as a team. Obviously, the star players have been doing their star player things, but like Messi only had the one assist in the last game there. Like it's not all running through him. Everyone's just got to keep contributing what they've been doing and try not to change it up too much. And yeah, if Vancouver just tackle everything in sight, don't let them have the ball.
Yeah, no, it's a simple plan, but a phenomenal plan. If you're Inter Miami, you let your best players go be your best players, particularly in the attacking third, right? The interchanging, the combination play, the runoffs, all of these sorts of things. You need that. And then if you're Vancouver, to your point, just make somebody else beat you. Don't let it be Lionel Messi. Put the ball onto somebody else's foot. Make them beat you because you'll take your chances that way, certainly. And the tail of the tape, if we reflect first on the league performances of both of these teams, we're going to first take a look at Inter Miami, who technically finished third in the Eastern Conference, although they did tie on points with second place Cincinnati. The determining tie breaking factor in the MLS is the team who has more wins, and that was Cincinnati, who edged Miami by a single win. Inter Miami also came off a summer of the Club World Cup, so their schedule during the regular season was a little different to the other clubs as they had to play a little bit of quote-unquote catch-up with games, we'll call it. So there was some fixture pile-up later in the campaign. Inter Miami finished their 34-game regular season with 19 wins, 8 draws, and 7 losses. Gee, what did you make of Inter Miami's regular season?
Yeah, I thought the Club World Cup kind of threw them off a little bit, but that was to be expected. We knew that was going to happen well before the season kicked off. Yeah, I thought they were not as dominant as I maybe thought they were going to be. I thought, kind of given this being like Lionel Messi's first real full like training camp all the way through with kind of no distractions, Club World Cup obviously being a distraction, but that was more for the whole team. I really just thought this was going to be a season where he just like completely dominated MLS. Won MVP, top scorer, top assister, kind of the Sebastian Giovinco kind of give him a season and a bit to kind of fit in and then dominate. But yeah, I thought he was messy. The rest of the team was fine. Funny enough, like they actually had more points than Vancouver and more wins. finishing third in the East. But I just thought they were just not quite. They never quite hit like top gear. They were always kind of a gear or two away from that, which obviously during the MLS Cup final is not a bad thing. But I just thought I expect a little more from them, which is again like really hard to say when they are in MLS Cup final and Lionel Messi's been playing so good and the rest of the team's been playing really well as well. But just I thought I just expected a touch more from them.
Yeah, so did I, because again, you watch games throughout the summer and throughout the season and things like this, even the fall time and what have you. And there's only like those little results that of pure dominance that are sprinkled in there, right? Where it's not like consistently banging out like 3-0s, 4-0s, 5-1s consistently, but they were sprinkled in. So I also expected a little bit more dominance from Inter Miami, but that's how high the bar is set for them when you have
Yeah.
one of the players on the planet still to be playing and the quality around you. So the bar is set high for them, but regardless, in the MLS Cup final, so nobody is who's an Inter Miami fan is certainly complaining. And out in the West, it was Vancouver who had an incredibly similar situation to Inter Miami, where the Whitecaps technically finished second, albeit they were level on points with first place San Diego FC. Once again, the MLS tiebreaker is total wins, in which San Diego just edged Vancouver by a single victory. The Whitecaps finished second in the West, accumulating 18 wins, 9 draws, and 7 losses over 34 games. Gee, if you could, reflect on the regular season of Vancouver.
Yeah, so I mean, let's start with the. Well, you can't talk about the regular season without talking about the CONCACAF Champions League where they
Yep.
lost in the final. I thought that was going to because they were having a fantastic start to the season. I really thought that was going to derail them a lot more than it did. We saw in 2018 when TFC went to MLS. So we went to MLS Cup final in 2017. 2018 go deep in the Champions League, actually lose that final in a penalty shootout, and it just kind of set the whole season back because TFC was so focused on winning the Champions League. I kind of expected the same thing from Vancouver, so I was pleasantly surprised that they brushed it off so easily. I really just didn't expect that from them. I thought it would just weigh on them like it should. Like it really, and I don't mean that like in any sort of insult. Like losing the CONCACAF Champions League final should weigh heavily on you. But they just did a phenomenal job, brushed it right off, continued to roll because they were doing well in the league before the CONCACAF Champions League final as well. So yeah, this was kind of the dominance that I expected from Inter Miami, and not that they dominate every single game 4 or 5-0, but just every time you watch them play, they had all of the ball, they scored fantastic goals. Like it just felt like they couldn't do anything wrong the whole regular season, and without a real like star player. To kind of run through, it felt like it was the full 11 and the bench, like the whole team was just chugging along. I was super, super impressed by them, and I think it's probably the best. Well, not I think. It's been by far the best season by a Canadian team since TFC won the treble in 2017. Yeah, Vancouver was just phenomenal this year, and very rightfully an MLS Cup final.
Yeah, well put and well said, Gitano. I really can't add too much to that apart from the fact that this is the sign of a mentally strong team and a team that is very much together, that bounced back from that final, was doing phenomenal beforehand, and then just kept plugging away and ticking along afterwards. And that's exactly why they are where they are today. So rightfully so in the MLS Cup final. And in the playoffs, Inter Miami took care of Nashville in their best of 3 series, even though it did take them 3 games to get the job done. From there, they hammered Cincinnati 4-0, and then, of course, beat New York City 5-1 en route to the final. G, speak to Inter Miami's run in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean 8-3, 4-0, and 5-1 just kind of says it all. They've just been dominant. They crushed everything in their path. Obviously, Nashville gave them a little bit of a harder time, but I just think like when you look at the team that they have on paper, the results they've gotten, it just kind of makes perfect sense.
It really does. They've had a sensational run, and I almost feel like in the Nashville series that Inter Miami they felt that they were always going to win it, so maybe they took their foot off the gas a little bit, dare I say, even though they're professionals and you don't expect them to do that, but these things do happen. They've had an unbelievable playoff run. Vancouver's playoff run has been a little different when we compare the two finalists. Vancouver took care of Dallas in their best of 3 series, but they needed penalties to do it in game number 2. From there, they also needed penalties to beat LAFC in the conference semifinals. And then, of course, they defeated San Diego 3-1 to get into the MLS playoff final. So, G, your thoughts on Vancouver in these playoffs?
Yeah, very very different road that they've had to take. But again, like you talk about, like that mental toughness to win the shootout against Dallas, to win the shootout against LAFC, like that is hard to do. I forget which tournament recently that was it England that won a bunch on penalties, or someone scraped to the final on penalties. I don't.
Well, when Italy won the Euros,
Italy, yeah, there
that,
was Italy
yeah,
in the Euros. That's exactly what it was.
yeah,
Um, it's the same thing. Like you have to be mentally strong to win so many penalty shootouts in a row. Hopefully, it doesn't come to that in the final, just for the sake of the spectacle. I just think a full like 90 or 120 minutes would be fine. But yeah, like we talked about with them, like losing the CONCACAF Champions League final and just keeping rolling, to winning back-to-back penalty shootouts to keep themselves in the playoffs. Like they are a mentally tough team. That is not an easy thing to do. Winning one penalty shootout, under these circumstances is difficult enough, let alone two in a row. So yeah, I think it's just a very different side of the coin from what we've seen from Inter Miami, where it's been a lot of putting their head down and grinding, just tunnel vision, just getting through it. Different from Miami, but equally difficult. I think they've maybe faced slightly harder teams. I just think LAFC were probably one of the better teams in the league again this year. So to see them out, again, taking penalties, I think is probably the biggest scalp that any of these two teams have taken. But yeah, I think both teams very rightfully deserve to be in the final.
certainly. And if you can point to even one thing that this final can produce, I'd like to think that there's going to be goals in it because both teams have scored goals throughout these playoffs, and I would say like kind of in abundance. But they've also conceded goals, both of these teams, apart from the Cincinnati game when Miami kept a clean sheet. But beyond that, both teams have shown that they're capable to concede one or a few. So I'd like to think in this final, Gitano, that there's going to be goals. And G, no matter who wins, at least in my opinion, we can only hope for a fantastic final between these two deserving teams, to your point. So for you, Gitano, who will be crowned MLS Cup champions on Saturday, December 6th?
So it's one answer, but for two reasons. So I'm gonna take Inter Miami. I just think the story of Lionel Messi finally winning MLS Cup and just winning everything that he has competed in, and he's Lionel Messi. He needs to win it. But I also don't want to see Vancouver win it because I don't want another Canadian team to win MLS Cup. I like the fact that TFC are the only Canadian team to have won it. So for two reasons, I will take Inter Miami.
So I'm going to take Inter Miami as well, but I'm only going to take them for the first reason that you mentioned, Lionel Messi, and you can bet against them, but if it ends up working out that they do win it, you're going to feel like the biggest fool ever, and I'm not going to be that guy. So if Vancouver wins it, personally, I actually am okay with it because I don't mind them. I've never minded them as a club. If it was Montreal, we'd have a very different conversation. No doubt about that. But I don't mind if Vancouver wins it. But I'm not going to bet against Lionel Messi. I'm not going to bet against Inter Miami. So I'm also going to take them. And I kind of sound like how most people sound for the Super Bowl for American football. I'm just open for a great game. And I don't care who wins. I'm just open for a great game. A reminder to our listeners that the MLS Cup Final does go this Saturday, December 6th at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. The game will be broadcasted on your local television sports network, and in our next episode of Full Time, we will recap the final for you all. This is Daniel Scarpino and Gitano Gallo, and you're listening to the Full Time Podcast on 91 Network. A reminder that Full Time is sponsored by Little Caesars Pizza and Sioux Sports. Check out the Pizza Portal app for a quicker, easier way to get your next hot and ready pizza from Little Caesars. And be sure to check out Sioux Sports at siouxsports.com and Sioux Sports TV on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Full Time. As we get ready to close out tonight's program, we want to say thank you all for being with us for yet another episode. G, solid stuff tonight, my friend.
Absolutely, well done to you as well. Always a pleasure to come on and talk beautiful game with you. Hopefully, well, not hopefully, we're going to get a good MLS Cup final. It's going to be fantastic. Lionel Messi's playing. It's going to be fine.
That's exactly.
But yes, enjoy the game. Enjoy your weekend, and well done again tonight.
Thank you, sir, and same to you. And we will speak again very soon. In fact, it'll be next week. A reminder to our listeners that the next episode of Full Time will be recorded the week of December 8th, 2025. In that show, we'll recap the MLS final and we will preview the Carabao Cup final, or not final, excuse me, quarterfinals. As always, we'll keep everyone in the loop with all the happenings in the world of football. For weekly content, make sure to hit like, follow, and subscribe to all platforms of 91 Network on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, Podbean, and Spaces at suetoday.com. For Gitano Gallo, my name is Daniel Scarpino, and thank you for tuning into Full Time. We look forward to seeing you at kickoff next time back here on the Full Time Podcast and 91 Network. Best always.